Let's look at the best team in the NFC. That's the Lions, man. And we started the show telling you everything we got right. Like, I thought the Packers would cover in this game. I really did. And honestly, it was a game where, and I don't want to do that. Detroit fans, I'm not trying to say it was close, but from a standpoint of the yardage gained and, kind of the flow of the game, for a while there, you thought maybe. I mean, definitely for the first 15 minutes of the game, you thought this is going to be a low possession game. It's going to be about the red zone, which it was. And it's going to be about taking care of the football, which it was. And the Lions did a better job of all those things. They just, what's so impressive about this damn team? It doesn't matter what they did last week. It never does. And, that to me is a sign of a really well-coached team. So, Dan Campbell coming off a blowout, whether it's a blowout or a shootout in Minnesota or, a blowout at home where you beat the Titans 52 to whatever it is. The next week, you got this divisional game. Not only you're not looking ahead to the divisional game and you're taking care of the Titans, you're taking care of the divisional game, and to me, this is twice now the Packers at home had a chance in division to prove that they're where we thought they might be. They're not where we thought they might be. I still think they're a very good team. I do think, honestly, the weather affected them, ironically, more than it affected Detroit. And I'm one of these people that thought that, wet ball, that might not be the best situation for Jared Goff. I mean, Tom Brady said it during the broadcast, so I'm not the only idiot out here. I thought that I thought maybe they'd come down to earth a little bit, but they didn't. And it's not like you have to ask the quarterback to do too damn much in that situation. You shouldn't. It's 49 degrees. It's pissing rain. What he has to do is make those throws in the red zone, which he did, and which Jordan Love didn't do. You look at that first possession, the Packers go down, and they have an opportunity to score and cash in on an 8-9 minute drive. And with the possession on the line, you're off target. And the ball's wet. Okay, usually I say if it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. But in this situation, if you're a quarterback who gets paid a lot of money, I know you're playing hurt and all this, and I'm a big fan of Jordan Love's, you have to make those throws. You have to put the ball in front of Wicks in the second half. Yes, could you say Wicks needs to catch that ball in the end zone? Absolutely. But it is pissing rain. You don't take anything off it, and you put him behind him. I know the injury has something to do with some of the throws, but at the end of the day, I almost felt like as the game went on that Malik Willis might have been better suited for a game like this where you just say, hey, we're going to embrace the identity. We're going to stop trying to push the ball down the field. The problem in this game is Jordan Love tried to do too much because he didn't do enough early. If you cash in on that first possession, at least you're hanging in there. But the problem is you didn't, and Detroit went right down the field, and guess what they did? Their quarterback, who's playing like an MVP, with 2 gloves on, makes that throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're not asking these quarterbacks in this game to do a ton unless you end up down 2 scores. And you don't want to go down 2 scores in a fucking monsoon. So that's kind of the way it ends up for me is Detroit came into this game. We worried about the elements for them. Green Bay is going to play in the elements a lot. They have to be better. They have to be more disciplined. They dropped the ball 5-6 times. They had a bunch of penalties. They're one of the most penalized teams in the league. And Detroit, on the other end, played like a team that plans on playing in deep into January and February. And this is why we put them in the damn bowl. Because they're well coached, ironically. The guy who was biting kneecaps day one and everybody wrote off as this dumb meathead has got one of the best coached football teams in the league, one of the most unselfish football teams in the league. And when they go on the road and play in a divisional game like this, they had their shit together. You could say the game would be different if you hit that field goal. Well, it'd be different if Kraft doesn't drop the ball on third down. Mm-hmm. It would definitely be different if you hit that field goal and you're saying to yourself, and this is the problem with playing the Lions and going down, is they choke you out. It felt like an anaconda situation. They just slowly squeeze the life out of you. And to me, the biggest play of the game was probably, if not the field goal, it was the drop that preceded it, the missed field goal that would have made it 7-6. Instead, the Lions go the length, right? And now you've got to score with not a lot of time left in the first half because coming out, you might not just go down 2 scores, but it might be halfway through the third quarter because of the way the Lions play. So when Jordan Love gets the ball back, he's playing hero ball. And to me, that's the problem. And Tom Brady said it. He hit the nail on the head late in the third when he almost threw him another one. Just make the throw. Just make the throw. And another thing Detroit does really well, just on strength of having these guys, is they got Sonic and Knuckles. You know, they have two backs, and they're very different in the way they run the football. So for defenses, every possession is different. The things you have to key in on are different, the whole thing. And, Bo, you know how this is. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to run the ball differently than David Montgomery. You're going to see different concepts. You're going to see different things in the passing game. And then juxtaposed to the Packers, who have a really good back. I actually like that back just as much as the other guys, Josh Jacobs. But there's only one of them on that roster that plays like that. And the problem is you play a team like the Lions, and if it were going to be a grinded-out game, I turned to Nolan in the first quarter, and I said, I wonder if Josh is going to wear down if they have to give him the ball a lot, whereas the other guys, they got two of these guys. And so it's just another built-in deal for Detroit where they're just built differently. And if they become this team that can go anywhere, play in any weather, play outside, play in the rain, play in the snow, they're going to be held to it.
That's what Campbell said, though. That's what he said. He's like, we'll play him in the mud. We'll play him in the snow, whatever, you know, like how he talks. But I think what's so interesting is like, okay, the Detroit Lions are the class of the NFL right now. Crazy. If you were to ask me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, what are you smoking? But what's so fun to me is the Lions like really do have a chip on their shoulder, man. You see Amon-Ra St. Brown come into Lambeau, one of the most historic, you know what I mean, fields in the NFL. He's wearing a Green Bay Sucks sweatshirt. Like, that's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny.
What's his name? Branch gets ejaculated.
Yeah.
And
so for people that
off the crowd,
can we say what? So people don't think it's a Freudian slip. ML football is so desperate for clicks, and I gave it to him. I mean, I'll hand up.
What's your favorite account?
Bro, that account now, like, it's so funny how all the aggregators are different. Dov Kleiman is just after whoever the new Dov Kleiman is just after engagement, like, and like, kind of salacious stuff and like putting people in bad spots. It's kind of like the TMZ of the football world. ML football is like literally Joel Osteen now. Everything's about like this guy prayed like nobody's ever prayed in the NFL before, or it's just like the occasional intentional ejaculation spelling. Like, I don't even know what ML football is doing. And then I think Ari Miroff is actually is certified. He's actually a good aggregator. Yeah. He went over to the 33rd team and he's actually talking ball. So just a little guide to the aggregators there.
Did you agree with the ejection?
I wanted to say, though, that they have a chip on their shoulder, man, and they play hard as hell, and you have to love it. Like, they just do it. Each week, they find something to, like, get pissed about and rally behind as a team. And it's like, it's kind of just shocking to me how they're all always so cohesively on the same page about some sort of perceived slight or injustice. And I love it. Like, it's great. I mean, think about the Cowboys game a couple weeks ago. I don't know. Like, they just seem to have such a cohesive locker room and like togetherness that I feel like you don't really see.
I so agree with you. And then somebody, Brett C just said in the chat, ML football on the Galaxy gas. Hey, listen, Bo doesn't know what Galaxy gas is.
Oh,
yeah, what is that?
It's like a new drug.
It's nitrous.
It's what the clout generation is into. Like, they want to die faster than us. They want to get more clout than us. Everything's instant gratification with this fucking generation. I sound like old man yelling at a cloud. But here, hey, bro, interior guys. This is the key to the game for me, was the interior guys for the Packers did not wreck the game. And so for that, I can't wait to dig into the All-22 a little bit more and see who really, really played well up front for Detroit. But I actually think Penei Sewell had one of those step-on situations. I'm talking about Detroit's. I'm talking about Detroit's offensive line. Detroit's offensive line not giving up a lot of interior pressure was big to me, and so and they also got to pick their spots. That's kind of a saving grace for Detroit. Is like, in the weather, we're not going to let you tee off. We're not going to be throwing the ball a bunch. We're going to run the rock. And, when it's time to transition on a wet field and play action, that's tough. So I really look forward to seeing round 2 from these teams. I think it'll be a better game. But Detroit, I got the win total at 10.5 or whatever I got it at.
13.
Bro, it's cake.
Yeah.
Like, it's cake. This team, along with the Washington Commanders, who I got at 6.5,
Knock
has
on
already
wood.
hit.
Knock on wood, Chris.
No, I know. I'm just going to go ahead and some Lions fan, they're going to go on a skid at some point. Lions fans are going to be like, you jinxed it. Like, that's how it works.
You see in the chat, they're calling Lions a Ferrari with mud tires.
This is funny. Luis Enrique Justiniano said Goff was 11-11 at one point in a monsoon. They said that on the broadcast. They were like, in a monsoon. It was nuts, dude. I mean, like, hats off to this team. Hats off to Jared Goff. And
with a depth target downfield, right?
Yeah, no
he
question.
Not like screens and stuff. He was shooting
there
those
were
11
some screens, but he was hitting the middle of the field just like he normally does. And the way they can manipulate space in there is just like...
Who was it, Watson? Watson got to go get his eyes checked.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a lot of depth issues.
He had depth issues. He was like jumping but
early.
not sure when to jump. You know who else does a great job of getting space in the middle of the field is Miami. And I think Goff is like a legitimate guy. You know, I think the other guy is like a solid player and everything, but like I think Goff, the way he can take advantage of that space in the middle of the field, you know, it's so hard with that run game. Being a backer playing the fucking Lions has to be the worst. It has to be like back when I looked at my schedule and would see like some all-pro tackle, and you kind of circle that one, and you're going to be like, that's going to be a tough sledding that day. To play at the second level and play the Detroit Lions is tough. So
one game and a pass game.
Yeah.
You're getting exposed. You're not ready.
Yeah, exactly. You guys want to...
Chris, let me ask you. I want to ask you about that ejaculation before we move on.
Sure.
I thought that was weak as hell. I did not like it.
Oh, yeah.
And then for Brady to comment on it kind of created that whole interesting discourse about him now as an owner of the Raiders, and he can't criticize refs and blah, blah, blah. What did you think that was justified?
Listen, to me, it's two conversations. Do I think it's the right rule? I don't think that's how it should be. I don't think a guy should get ejected for that hit. So like, but if by the letter of the law, it's an ejection, then we need to look at the rules. Like, we can't look at the referees or the officials upstairs and say, hey, you're wrong. If by the letter of the law, that's the right thing, like, then the rule's the problem, not the execution of the rule. And I don't love that. You know, like, in the manifestation of that rule is that, then I don't love that, because it was forcible, and he had an opportunity to slow down and get out of the way. But it's like, when you take a guy like Brian Branch off the field, there are hits that I watched and I'm like, that was a little bit much. That was a little bit much, but that wasn't a lot of bit much. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I'm just being a meatball about it. But I got to be honest with you, I could think around this thing for 5 minutes and watch it 100 times, but I just feel like that's a lot to lose a guy like Brian Branch early in the game because he loaded up and tried to give a guy a shot. Now, he hit him right in the head, and that's probably where he gets into trouble.